Hi, welcome back to Outdoor Gear and Skills. I just want to talk today about a trip I did down to southern Utah to St. George last week with my boys. We just got home last night and we went down to do some mountain biking for my son's birthday, high school graduation. So we had a great time. Did have a couple crashes, got some good marks, for coming home. No broken bones, thankfully, so that was cool. But we were riding this trail called Bear Claw Poppy, which is one of our favorite trails. And we were on an upper section, just kind of coming through these berms. And I went off this cool jump on the left side, and then I got a pinch flat. And I had checked my tire, so I had strong tire pressure, but it just popped my tire. And it was our last ride. We were trying to get it done in time to get back up to the Wasatch Front. And so I busted out my pump and started pumping up my tires. So I always carry a pump like this in my Camelback so that I can get some air in the tube to kind of get the kinks out of it when it's sitting in a box, and then just try to get some of it full so I can just grab my CO2 and fill it up really hard. I cannot pump it up hard enough with this type of pump. And so I just kind of start out with this, and then I switch over to CO2. And we're kind of out there. It's earlier in the morning. There's one rider came by and asked us if everything was all right, and we said it was, and he took on and just kept going. Little did I know that when I got my little CO2 head here and my CO2 cartridges out, and I have 4 cartridges with me, and I went to go put them together and noticed that that is threaded and these are threadless, so it does not work. So I could not pump up my tire. I used to have a different CO2 where it would have kind of a sleeve that I drop my CO2 cartridges in, and then this top nozzle would screw on and it would have a little trigger. And I was dead in the water. So I sent my boys off and I got my tire pumped up as much as I could. I climbed on it and I took a couple pedal strokes. Like I can't, it's not enough pressure. So I just walked my bike. I called my boys and I said, hey, just as you see riders, ask them if they have any CO2. So I walked my bike down a few minutes later, and my son had found someone on the trail that was coming up, and he was nice enough to go fill the CO2 for me and get my tire nice and hard. And I was telling them, yeah, I had a different one, and I didn't really pay attention that this doesn't work. It's not compatible. And as I'm filling it up, he looks into his bag and he's like, oh yeah, I've got 2 of these. So he gave me one and he went, oh, you know what? The other one's actually, I've already used it. It's expired and I didn't even know it. He's like, oh, I apparently haven't checked my pack enough. Clearly I haven't either. And so thankfully I was in a spot where I could get some help from somebody. And my boys and I were able to go down and finish the roller coaster section of Bear Claw Poppy. My youngest son and I were able to crash into each other and experience our first dual crash. So that was pretty awesome. And got down to the bottom of the trail and broke my chain. And I think that is only the 3rd chain I've ever broken in 27 years. So thankfully it happened at the bottom. And I just walked my bike off for about 1/5 of a mile back to the truck, and we were done. So my point to all of this is I've been riding around for, I'm not even really sure how long, with what I thought was a CO2 setup that I could inflate my tires and keep going, and it wasn't. So I failed to check these out when I replaced my old CO2 system, that old pump. I think it just wore out, it broke or something. I had it for a long time, and I got this one, which is nice and small. I actually keep it in an Altoids can with some other little bike parts and things in there. And I apparently did not check these when my other one broke, and I switched over to this. I also hadn't checked it recently to kind of look at all my gear and make sure that it's all compatible because I assumed that I had. And so I think as we have either our EDC set up or our go bag or things that we take with us when we travel or things like that. It's important to get in and examine things and not assume that everything's fine, that we've checked it, that we haven't missed something. One thing that I think of too is if, I carry a lighter with me. I don't smoke. I probably kind of sound like it today. My allergies have been really bad since I left Oregon for this Utah road trip. But I always keep it so that if I'm cutting paracord or anything like that, I can burn the ends of it. If I need to start a fire, I can do that as well. But, I think it's something I need to go and check and see how much butane I've got in my lighters and make sure that I've got enough or I've got a backup. There's certain things where you just look at something and I just look at that and without really examining it, think, oh, that's fine. Those are the 2 parts I need. I can look in my bag and see a lighter and think that I'm great, but I need to check that fuel level, make sure I've got enough butane in there. And so I think it's important just to check our gear. I'm going to kind of go back through some of my stuff and just double check and be a little more thorough and make sure that everything's set up. Like I said, thankfully, this worked out for me. Thankfully, this didn't happen when I did a 34-mile ride last year, also down in the St. George area, but I was a little more remote. I didn't pass that many bikers, and so it would have been quite a while before I'd come across someone. The Bear Claw Poppy Trail is a lot more populated, and so I was able to, get some help. So it's good to just check our gear, make sure we have what we think we have, make sure the things work together, make sure that they're, properly set up so that when we run into something, I should have been able to just fill that tire up in 7-8 minutes, switch everything out and gotten back on the trail. And instead I was off my bike for closer to half an hour. And it kind of chewed up some of the time that we were going to ride that morning. So gear's important. Let me know if you guys have run into shortcomings or things like that of your gear, or you thought you had something that wasn't really there. And kind of how you check it and what kind of checklist you use. I'd really be interested to see that. As always, thanks for watching Outdoor Gear and Skills, and get out there, enjoy that great weather, and enjoy Mother Nature.